Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Love Notes from the Trippy Hippie. I don't know what episode it is, but I kind of think that's good. I've stopped counting and I'm just having fun. So, today's guest is Amy Collette, Unleash Your Inner Author. She is my writing coach, so I can't even begin to imagine. Well, I hope I can do it justice, or we can do it justice to unpack the magic that you bring to my life, which I'm so excited to share with everybody. So welcome.
Thank you, April. This is really fun, and it's always fun for me to be with you, but especially on your podcast. This is extra special. So
Yay.
let's
Thanks
make
for
some magic.
Yes, thanks for playing along. I just want to take a brief moment here to give a little bit of background on the podcast in case this is somebody's first episode, and then we're going to jump in and hear your magical story, and a little bit about, I guess, our meet cute and all the things and all the magical things. So, if you're new to this podcast, Love Notes from the Trippy Hippie, it started sort of as a joke. I do a lot of meditation and one of the things that I joke with is when I'm really lovey-dovey is I'll sign off my text to my friends, love the trippy hippie. And I was just saying that to one of my friends who was interviewed on one of the podcast episodes, and she's like, that's the name of your podcast. And I just thought about it for a minute. I thought, okay, well, maybe. It took a year and a half. But in addition to that, so that became the name. But in addition to that, the podcast idea of interviewing magical people in my life came from an inspiration where I was on a road trip with a friend and stopped to use. I think we went to a coffee shop, stopped in the restroom, and there was a sticky note on the mirror that said, "What if your fondest dream is small compared to what the universe has in store for you?" And I just breathe deep with that because I feel like every time I'm in the presence of my magical friends, I feel this. And so you are one of those magical friends. Can't wait to unleash your story with everyone. Real quick, I just want to let everybody know not only are you my writing coach, but you're a writer too. You've got the Gratitude Connection, which I hope we get to hear a little bit more about that. Of course, your first book, right, Amy?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And then Unleash Your Impact, which, this is for authors, right? Unleashing their story, their impact of their story. And, I'll let you do the talking on it, but from my point of view, being one of your, cohorts, is that what we would call me? I don't
Yeah.
know. I will say that this book has everything you've been thinking of as that's been getting in your way as an author of your impact. Like, you call them dragons, I think. Just
Dear
like,
dragons.
yeah,
Yeah.
fear dragons. I'm like, nobody's gonna understand what I'm saying. And so there's support in there. There's dealing with your fear dragons. It's just wonderful, wonderful book. So I hope people will have an opportunity to check that out. I'm gonna post this on YouTube, and there will be links to your websites and your books and things. So let's hear all about you and what you do and your first book and how you came to be where you are and doing what you do.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you mentioned those two books, and so they're all kind of intertwined with my journey, right? So it started, I was a professional editor and writer for a long time. Different stuff. I wasn't writing about my personal stuff, right? I was writing for businesses and corporations and technology and medical and all that kind of stuff. So it was always removed from me, right? It wasn't my heart stuff. So then when it came time to write my own book, I just felt like I had to. I couldn't stop from writing that book. And you know how it is when you've got the muse and it's really tapping on the inside of your head trying to come out, you got to
Hmm.
sit down and write. You got to write something. And so I started writing. I didn't know I was writing a book at the time.
Hmm.
I was just writing some of the things that had really worked for me.
Hmm.
And so I was coming out of a time of real depression and anxiety.
Mm.
And I was swirling. I couldn't quite come up for air. I couldn't see out of the rut I was in. I think of it as being down here, and I'm trying to peek out and I can't even get there, right? So I had remembered this story that I had read in a book about this gratitude practice. It's really a religious practice in the Jewish tradition called
Mm.
Hakarat Hatov. And it's just giving thanks for your blessings a few
Nice.
times a day. So it just becomes like a living prayer, is the idea, right? So I thought, that sounds like a good idea. Should probably try that, you know? And I did, and it changed my life.
Mm,
Within about a week, I was, peeking up over the rim now and actually feeling better. I just
mm,
wanted to feel a little better. I wasn't even reaching for happiness yet.
mm-hmm.
That was a distant
Yeah.
goal. But just to feel better and to feel like I could sleep and I could have relationships without being just a grumpy person that nobody wanted to be around, you know?
Yeah.
So the gratitude connection really sparked my excitement about sharing that. And I realized creating that practice and a bunch of other small practices, I'm really kind of a habit person.
Hmm.
And to change bad habits, I believe you've got to bring in some better habits, right? To
Yeah.
replace them. It's hard just to stop, you know? You need to have something else to replace it and something positive of a higher vibration,
Yeah.
right? So that's what happened for me. And so that's how my first book came about. And then other people started coming to me and saying, "Hey, could you help me write my book? Or could you help me with this manuscript that I've been working on for 20 years to actually get it done?" And so things just started organically like that. And it really unleashed something in me of a desire to continue to put out this beautiful transformational, I call it transformational nonfiction,
Mm.
that is our own personal journeys because other people connect to that. They connect to stories, they see themselves in our stories, and they're like, huh, maybe that's possible for me too.
Yeah. I
So,
wonder if we give ourselves enough permission to do the transforming. I think some of us have like some guilt about it.
ooh, tell me about that.
Everybody's seeing it in real time. This is what happens in our coaching sessions.
Right, exactly. This is a glimpse behind the scenes.
Right? I know. I guess I just feel like sometimes there's some I call it survivor guilt, but it's not, well, maybe it could be, because a lot of us are in survival mode. And so if we're going to leave survival mode and we're going to transform out of that, I feel like that's kind of what I call survival guilt. Like, I don't, oh, this is my thing. I was like, I don't know how to say it, Amy. So we get a whole session about me trying to untangle that in my voice, but yeah. So you're seeing it in real time, the magic that Amy does. But yeah, I wonder if our anybody listening can even relate to that. Have you heard anything like that in people's transformational stories or seen it as a theme? I'm curious.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't seen it the way you just described it as like survivor guilt, but I think it goes under the general theme of imposter syndrome, right?
Oh,
Where, I mean, it's kind
yeah.
of I don't know, does that feel right? Or I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, no, but you're just kind of like expanding my world here for a minute. There's a couple of more things actually that are shifting into that with gratitude too. So let's just kind of stay with it for a moment. So yeah,
Okay.
say more about
So
that.
the way I see it, so in the book, The Unleash Your Impact, the middle part of that book is all stories of people who've overcome stuff about telling their stories, writing their books, just getting the thing done. But most of it has to do with actually telling those personal stories,
Hmm.
right? They feel a little bit shy about it. There's something that's kind of putting a lid on
Hmm.
them expressing themselves or their vulnerability,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So this feels similar to me, where you're thinking, well, I can't say, because basically you're saying, I've come a long way. I've done the work.
Hmm.
I'm maybe at a different place than you are.
Hmm.
So maybe have some wisdom to share. And that might feel a little like you're getting too big for your britches or bragging,
Hmm.
which is something women really struggle with. They don't want to, beat their own drum, blare their own trumpet because it might feel like somebody else might be offended or
Yeah,
something like that. So I think that, I don't know, does that touch on
it
what
does.
you're talking about?
It does. And even as you say it, for me, it even brings up sort of a fear of abandonment by that. And, like, how dare you transform? Like, if you're going to be a butterfly and like these caterpillars are like, you do the, too big for your britches, right? But also, telling my own story, part of, what led to my divorce was a little bit of this. Like, people don't have to grow. They don't have to transform. We all have our own lives. It doesn't mean anything. It just means this is the experience they want. They're happy with it.
Yeah.
But in my experience in my life, I've been shamed with gratitude, as in like, this should be good enough for you. Like, what's your problem? You're just an ungrateful little brat. Like what, how dare you want more? And I feel like there's that like again, that's just, it's, I don't, any family members or, even my ex-husband, there's no ill feeling towards it, but if you're not with a person that wants to grow, you're naturally going to grow apart. So it leaves that whole like when you go into that new area, like who are your friends yet? It's kind of isolating a little bit. So it does trigger fears of abandonment. It does trigger my, if anybody's listened to any other episodes, I have a killer love belief that I have to give up being who I am in order to be loved. So it's triggering to grow triggers my killer love belief. And like, you have to be exactly how I want you to be right here with me, or you're just not good enough. You're not gonna be loved. So
Right,
yeah.
right. Well, and some of that is absolutely true. Let's be honest about it
Yeah.
because as you grow and expand, you do grow out of some relationships.
Mhm.
I think you and I have both experienced that with friendships, where something that we had in our 20s or 30s may not be still aligned, right? And
Mhm.
it's nobody's wrong or right. It's just you're not in alignment anymore. And you found that out very clearly in your primary relationship when you
Mhm.
got divorced,
Mhm.
that growth and expansion that you were experiencing was not something that they could come along with.
Yeah.
It's I think that is a very real fear. It's not just a fear, it's a reality.
Mhm.
So that's a question then. Do I keep myself small to fit in my friend group or my relationship or whatever?
Mhm.
Or do I choose me and continue to grow and expand into whatever else that might be bringing into my life? And that sounds harsh, but it is a reality of if you're going to grow and expand, this happens.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It's just a natural outgrowth of of your growth.
Yeah. And even as you say it and we talk out loud, it almost feels like it's the thing that I'm not saying in my current book because it is a book about transformation. And maybe I'm just kind of like dancing around the fear of it, which we both know. Like, the benefit of working with you is that I get to see my patterns in my writing. And it's like, and coming up here too, I probably want to ask a couple of questions about Chat GPT and authors and things like that we've explored. So, um,
Yeah.
you know, um, I feel like, ChatGPT has even called me out on that pattern. It's saying, why do you just keep dancing around? Like, throw down your truth bomb and don't be afraid of it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and not everybody can handle those truth bombs. But the whole idea of putting your truth bombs out there, speaking your truth and growing into it and expanding into being big enough to be able to say, this is what I think and feel and believe, is that you magnetize the people who are aligned
hmm
and who want to hear your message and who absolutely need and are hungry for your
hmm
message and your story. They're
yeah,
like, oh, thank God, finally somebody's speaking the truth.
yeah. It's interesting when you say it just like that. I'm reminded of a time I was in a chat group online and, just a women's support group, and somebody was talking about like they're at their limit, they're gonna break down, and everybody's given them traditional advice to like, take care of yourself, all of that. And I went in there and I said, have the fucking breakdown, girl. You need to have it. Like, you know what I mean? And I couldn't believe how many people were like, yes, yes. And it's like, we have that where we resist the anxiety. We want to fix it. We think it's something in us that's broken. And really what happens with transformation is, I think about like meditation. Started this podcast saying how I do all this meditation and get all lovey-dovey. Well, one of the things that I learned in meditation is that, what happens is that your nervous system, I think it's called, like in science terms, chaos theory. Like it breaks down to reorganize at a higher level. And like we get those thresholds in our lives and then we're like, nope, can't do that, something's wrong, don't go there. But like that's like literally where we all need to go to like reorganize at a higher level. And I just remember some people feeling like that was so freeing, just to be like, have permission to have the breakdown. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you, it means you're evolving. And that ended up sparking some inspiration for me to like write a small article about it. As you know, I write articles on Medium, so um, Amy helps me with those. Even when I'm not writing my story and I take a little break, you're helping me to clarify my voice and strengthen my voice. And every one of those little articles, I feel like are not just me expressing, you know, what did you call it? A living prayer? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
getting a little thing. I don't know if I've ever told you this. Maybe I've told you this in our private sessions, but I have this frequencing thing. You're talking about frequency and stuff like that. If I say it or feel it, I get this vibration that like moves through me. And I just got it when I said that, meaning that what was going through my mind is my little articles there are, even if I'm not writing my story, they're part of my story. They're like 1% increments and me like testing the waters to feel safe to say this, to amplify, to practice, to me. And I think you've heard me say this about my book, and like I have this very special relationship with my book, which I do feel like my book is a living prayer for me. And every one of those articles is like, here's a little like sustenance and gratitude for that sustenance to make art and practice with it. So that just popped
Yeah.
out.
Wow, so much there, right there, April. And this is so normal for us, right? Where you throw down the whole, just what you said could turn into an entire book, right? I mean, there's just so much there to dig into. But the thing that really pops in for me is a beautiful phrase that you have taught me, and that is the only way out is through.
Mm.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, I'm not the originator of that. I feel like there's a few different versions, and I feel like it's a poet who said it, and I'm not gonna remember who, but yeah, it's a paraphrase of that. So it's just something that stuck with me from that I heard from somebody like I don't know 10 or 15 years ago, and it's the thing that's like right when I'm at that threshold, I'm like, nope, you gotta go through.
Yeah, exactly. And what that means is you're allowing yourself to feel the feelings that we squash under the. So I have that analogy where I talk about the beach ball, holding the beach ball under the
hmm
water.
hmm
It feels like that for me because I know for years and decades I've been running from my feelings, right?
hmm
Running from feeling the things I need to work through,
hmm
right? That I'm holding them underwater, and I don't realize how much time and energy that takes from me.
Yeah.
Hold that beach ball. I mean, just think about that literally in a pool, holding a beach ball underwater kind of takes almost your entire body weight, right? And most of your focus to
hmm
hold that down. So when you allow that, you allow the breakdown, the breakthrough,
hmm
right? To
hmm
feel those feelings. And that's part of what happened with the gratitude connection is
mm
I was so afraid of feeling anything. I wasn't feeling anything. I was suppressing it so far down. When
Mhm.
it came up, I felt it, it moved through pretty quickly
Mhm.
and released all that negative energy that I was just holding in and holding down.
Mhm.
So it was really, really life changing
Yeah.
to do that. So I know that what you say about the only way out is through,
Yeah.
is feel the feelings, write about it, meditate about whatever it is that helps you move through it or feel it and express it.
Yeah.
That's
I
a good
think the
first
way
step.
you I think the way you said it is so, so good, and the way you unpacked it, because one of the things I learned in my life coach training is that what my coach taught all of us is that anxiety is the fear of feeling. And
Yeah.
ironically, once I heard that and sort of adapted that, like, okay, I have anxiety here. I'm afraid of this feeling. So, not combatively confronting my fear, but consistently staying with myself and supporting myself through feeling that feeling. You go through it, like you said. And ultimately, um, I can honestly say that I almost never feel anxiety anymore. And when I do, I know that's a trigger, and then I call it a portal to go through, like just, and it expands your world. And so it's like you said, it's over like that and it gets integrated. So, yeah, so what a great way to unpack that. That's beautifully said. Something I picked up in what you said, if you've mentioned it in your book, please forgive me. I've either not encountered it yet or forgotten, but the gratitude connection. Um, what I heard in that, all the things you said, is what I call grace. Like the moment you're willing to step into that, like, I'm going to be with this. I'm not going to push it under. It feels like, I don't know, I feel like grace comes to me. I feel like grace and gratitude are very intertwined. Any thoughts or things come up around that?
Yeah, I don't think I do talk specifically about grace in the book, but I think it's kind of implied through the whole thing
Hmm.
because what gratitude helped me do was face that anxiety,
Hmm.
because I could, along with suppressing the feelings I didn't want to feel, I was suppressing the feelings that I did want to feel.
Hmm.
If that makes sense, right? So
Yeah.
I'm shutting everything off. I'm holding it in so hard that I'm not even seeing what is good about my life. Because when I started my gratitude practice, I thought, well, that's kind of a cool idea if I had anything to be grateful for.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, I feel like that's pretty far gone when you feel like you don't have anything to be grateful for.
Yeah.
So when I took a minute to just relax, and I would do this before bed, and as soon as I woke up, I put my hand on my heart.
Mhm.
And you can try this. Put your hand on your heart and just feel gratitude first instead of making a list of all the things you're grateful for. Just feel gratitude first.
Hmm.
Ah, kind of breathe that in. Do you feel your shoulders relaxing? That is, that's calming your nervous system down, putting your hand on your heart and breathing. Like I just felt my voice go down,
Hmm.
right? Because I'm calm, I'm relaxed, when I do that. So then all these things started coming in about what I was grateful for. So I wasn't in my head making a list, and there's nothing wrong with making a gratitude journal or list.
Hmm.
But for me, I'm a writer and I get into my head when I start writing. So
Hmm.
I needed to try something else. And that was this, just feel it. I needed to feel something and get in touch with my feelings again. So that was a great way to do that. And then um, I could, my whole world opened up. I was like, oh, like 90% of things in my life are awesome.
Hmm.
And I'm focusing on this one little slice of the pie. I think of it as, in a pie chart.
Yeah.
If you have a 10% slice of that pie, that's where all my energy and focus was going. That part of my life was not going right the way I wanted it to. And that's what I was focusing on. So, of course, what you focus on is what you get more of.
Yeah, and
You
gratitude
know?
is such a great emotion to feel in your body. You do, like you said, you feel really expansive. And it's a great way to, I love how you describe embodying it. I just talked about the frequency thing I feel. I think that happens a lot from being with the feeling and feeling it move through your body. You start to pick up. I mean, it's going to be a different experience for everyone. I know I get this all total vibration thing in my left ear. It's almost like you get like, there's the frequency, you're on it. Like you're just kind of on a wave. Like, well, that's what it feels like for me, but I'm sure it's different for everyone. And it's just nice the way you explained it. I just would love to add on like a picture that I think of with the things you just said is that I've been in the same position where it's like you want to just stop the flow of like, I don't want all of this yuck in my life, and you just want to shut it down. And that makes sense, like it feels awful. But I always think of it like we're a vessel. Like literally, like I almost think of us like a heartbeat, right? So if you're like constricting it, it's just like you said, you can't constrict one without the other. And as you know, I often write about I don't know how to say it. Is it the dualities, I guess, right? So that shows up in my writing a lot. So that expansion, you probably always notice like if I'm feeling bad this way, I start feeling really good this way because when you expand, you just that's wholeness, right? You expand this way. You can't just do one side. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I hadn't really thought about that. I always think about the focus, where I was focusing my
Mhm.
energy, but I actually didn't even think about the suppressing all the feelings
Yeah.
until I started talking about the beach ball just now,
Yeah.
and I realized, oh, I was absolutely squashing everything. And
Hmm.
so I wasn't allowing myself to feel really anything, which, that's not a lot of fun
Nope.
to experience, and it's not a lot of fun to be around. you know so think
Yes.
of it when you're in that beautiful flow frequency that you're talking about,
Hmm.
like when we just were talking about gratitude and putting our hands on our hearts, my feet tingle. I can
Yeah.
really feel my
Love
connection
that.
with the ground, with the earth. And so I
Wow.
love that feeling, and it's like it's almost a little validation of like, yes, you're in alignment now, you're doing good, you're where you're supposed to be. And when you're out of that, you're disconnected from your body, you're disconnected from everything. So
Yeah.
just a simple thing like getting your nervous system just quiet enough
Right.
to calm down and feel that calmer state. That's a really great start, and that's where I started. And
Yeah.
everything grew from there. But gratitude is expansive, right? So when you start feeling gratitude, it helps you see more things that you're grateful for,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like I
Sure does.
realized once I started practicing this in the evening and in the morning, it set the tone for the day of now I'm actively looking for what I'm grateful for.
Yep.
So it opened up my entire world.
Hmm.
I'm grateful for this beautiful picture that's behind me or next to me, or the view out my window, the beautiful weather, my mountains that I see out my window every day, that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
so it's like, it just expanded everything and just kept that going.
Yeah. I love the way you break down the embodiment of it and how it like infilters through our life because in all honesty, like you said, there's a lot of stuff out there which seems like a checklist to do. And also, I just want to offer like it's different for everyone. Like if you're listening to us, like Amy and I feel this differently. Her tingles, she gets her tingles in her feet and I definitely feel the heart space too and I feel the energetic wave, but like you're right, you set the tone to be on that wave in your life. You focus on what you focus on expands. You're on that frequency. You're probably generating more of that frequency. You're attracting that frequency. I love that we're talking about this because 'tis the month for gratitude, and definitely grateful that I met you. I think I should mention I met you through. If any of you want to follow Amy on LinkedIn, I know you work with several other coaches and transformational coaches. You've got a lot of books behind you. Are those from all of your authors you've helped?
Yep. Two of them are mine, but the rest are everybody else that I've helped. And it just makes I feel like a proud auntie every time, somebody publishes their book and gets to hold it in their hand for the first time.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Look at how many there are there too. So, so just want to encourage people. I found you through word of mouth from another coach. I think I was talking about my book, and then somebody said I had to meet you, and we had a little discovery call. And so people can look you up on LinkedIn. And again, I'm
Yeah.
going to include your website and stuff. Also wanted to talk about your happy hour you have for can anybody just come in and join that if they want to check out your group? Say more about your happy hour that you have for your authors.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, I'm always interested in helping new authors, who are thinking about writing their books, and that's really who it's for. But there's also a lot of these folks that have written these books behind me have joined in this, and we have really become a community that we talk about all kinds of things. So it's called Positively Powered Authors, and the group is on Facebook. Uh, and so, yeah, it's an open discussion once a month where we pick a topic, and lately it's been storytelling. It's going to
Hmm.
continue to be storytelling with a gratitude twist
Ooh,
this month.
fun.
So, yeah, and so we get to know each other and we support each other and share tips. And a lot of the people in the group have read each other's books, so they're each other's biggest fans. So
Oh,
it's really to continue that personal expansion that we create when we write our books. Because as you know, writing a book is a journey of personal expansion, and some even call it a spiritual journey because
yeah.
there's a lot, that you're diving into, looking into that you want to know so well yourself that you can help other people with.
Absolutely. Just to touch a little bit on that, do you mind if I just share a little bit about
Please.
when we're so
Yeah.
just to kind of give credibility, or I shouldn't say credibility, I should say weight to what you're saying.
Oh,
I started working with you like a little bit, almost a year and a half ago, had my whole outline of my whole story done, was just, plugging away, writing it, and all of a sudden my life blew up. Talk about the breakdown, right? I'm like, just blew up. And then my book says to me, oh yeah, that part of the book you thought was done, like you're in it now. And it felt like the story started writing me. So I feel like, that's kind of what you're saying, like you go on this journey you didn't even know you might be going on. It's just, and now the book's writing me and I take orders from the book, and it's like, yeah, you need to stop here because, we're gonna talk about this now, and now you need to experience it to write about it. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're going through it. So, so the book will be done when it's done. I mean, it's not like I don't have like stuff that's going to be written. It's still like the outline is there, the front, middle, it's all there, but it's being filled in differently now. So, then just like I always thought, like being a type A person, I sit down, do my thing, checklist, A, B, C, D, all of that, right? And it turns out the book's like, yeah, whatever, we're not having that. Just like, yeah, to your point, what I'm saying is it's like it's taking me on its own journey, and I just have had to learn to surrender that. I feel like I get to be the vessel that gets to tell the story, which is really interesting because this opens up a whole can of sort of what you've heard me talk about in coaching, where I talk about being a money coach, and like in order to align with a version of you that wants this level of worth or wealth, you need to have an identity change. And you're talking to me about changing my identity into being an author. And if you have more to say about this, I certainly want to hear it. I bet everyone else does too. But there is something about authoring your own story, whatever it is, published or not, or like you say, storytelling, that lends an expansion to your own authenticity, and your own, the big one for me is my own authority and agency. Anything more you want to say about some of that?
yes. Yeah. So that's really interesting that you talk about that because the journey of becoming an author. And that's one reason I call my program Unleash Your Inner Author, because I want you to start thinking about becoming an author from the very get-go, right? Because it is an identity piece that some people struggle with. And I think it goes back to what you were talking about. Like, do I deserve to be stand on that stage and call myself an author? Do I, can I claim that about myself? And
Mm.
so it's really an interesting piece. And so that's why I use that term author throughout the program so that it's sort of just by hearing it enough, you kind of become a little immune to it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like such a big, hairy deal
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
But it is because it's asking you to step into your voice
Mm-hmm.
and let it out, right? Which is something that can be a lifelong journey. And what happens when you start to do that is when you give yourself permission, that's the word you used, to speak your truth, to say what you truly believe, to help other people see their own truths through your story, then you are asking yourself to continue to expand. Right.
Mm.
So
Mm.
once you open the door, I think of it like opening the door just a little bit and going, okay, I think I'm gonna walk through this. I'm gonna like actually do this. When you open that door, whoosh, all these things come in, right? Of like, maybe this is bigger than I thought. Just like the little note you saw in the bathroom, right?
Right.
Maybe this is bigger than I actually ever dreamed of. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and my story's going to be even bigger and better. And that's the story of a lot of these books behind me,
Wow.
where people came with an outline, which an outline is great. It's a framework, right? I always suggest to start with a framework and an outline, but it can expand, it can change. It's not written in stone, right? So it's the way when you come with an outline, you say, this is the way I see myself. This is the way I see my journey, and it's all nicely boxed in here. And then when we started to work together and you started to give yourself more permission to use your voice and to explore it and say, maybe I actually have more to say here. Then you just blew through that outline and it busted open into something else. And that's a common occurrence.
Mm. Okay.
So get ready. When you're interested in being an author, it really is an interesting journey. I call it an adventure because it really is an exploration of what you truly do think and believe and want to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to admit, it's quite a fun journey. And I know I've mentioned this to you several times that I have no idea if I will actually ever even want to publish the book, but I know my book. I know it wants to be written, and that's enough. Like, we'll see where it takes us, but I'm enjoying that journey of having that relationship of birthing the story and birthing my voice. It's going to be birthed whether it's published or not.
Yeah.
So I guess I thought I'd share that too because I wonder how many people might be listening and thought, I want to write a book, but do I have to be a published author? Maybe I don't want to. Like maybe that's just, I mean, it's enough to write your story for you, yourself, and I, me, myself, and I, you, yourself, and
Yeah,
you.
I think most people come to me really do want to publish their book. But there are
Yeah.
different levels of that. Like I just posted about a book that came out just this month,
Ooh, okay.
late last month. It's called He Must Be Lost. And it's a story of this gentleman who lives in Colorado, where I live. And in Colorado, we have the highest mountains in the country, the biggest concentration of high mountains called
Hmm.
14ers, which means they're 14,000 feet or above at the summit. And he climbed every one of them in
Ooh,
Colorado, and is the first African American to make that accomplishment. So it's a big deal, and his stories are so interesting. Some of them are so frightening because he came this close to death on a couple of those climbs.
wow. That sounds
In
like
this,
phenomenal.
oh my God, it's really an interesting read. But he's also talking about his personal and spiritual development along that journey, right? It was a whole thing. So he wanted to leave his legacy for
Mm.
his grandson.
Oh.
That's all he cared about. He wrote the book for his grandson. So
Hmm.
his grandson would know his story, be able to take those life lessons that he learned and take those forward into his life. Now, will this book serve other people? Certainly. I mean, I'm so
Yeah.
excited about this book because I really love his story. And so, but his goal was to write it for his grandson and leave these beautiful photographs that he took throughout all these years of climbing these mountains.
My
He's
gosh.
it shows so it shows his kind of growth as a photographer too.
Oh, I just love it, all of it. Like,
And then other people want to absolutely change the world. They want everybody to read the book and be changed and transformed by it, so it's this whole spectrum of
mhm,
legacy. And that can start with writing it for yourself because it is so cathartic to write. Even if you're writing in your journal, I write in my journal almost every day.
mhm,
And I think I start out thinking I'm going to write one thing and it ends up going a different direction or showing me something that I had not really processed yet or
mhm,
looked at.
mhm.
So even that writing just for me is absolutely worthwhile and helps me through my own growth and expansion. Now, if some of that turns into something that I publish or put out as a social media post or something, then that's great. But the goal is just to write for me in the journal.
Love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. I love hearing like the whole full circle of everything and what's possible. And I love the intention of, the what this gentleman started with for legacy for his grandson, hearing the story and all of that. And then of course, yeah, absolutely. The people that read his book are going to benefit so much. I mean, I haven't even read it, and I feel like it's something that I could benefit from tremendously already,
Yeah.
I gotta hunt this one down. Uh,
Yeah.
but and I ended up, I just starting with my own thoughts like, okay, yes, I want freedom from oppression for everyone and I want to be save the world with this like unleash your voice, the book that I'm writing. And as I started writing, I just felt such an intimacy that I felt like I don't know that I'd ever discovered such an intimacy with my own self in my own story. And then I felt like, and that's why I'm like letting the book do its thing. I felt like I don't want to share. But as I'm saying this out loud, I can see one of the reasons why, and I don't even know if we maybe have even talked about this, but I grew up in an environment where transparency was a forced thing. And as somebody said, that's not transparency, that's like surveillance, And I was like, yeah, that's right. And I think that I'm feeling what do I call it? The opposite where I'm always talking, the duality of is like,
Yeah.
and you can keep some things intimate for yourself. I didn't realize that maybe what I was hiding from as a kid was the most precious things to my heart were hidden even from myself, I think. Because I didn't want that forced transparency. And now that my book is coming out, I have this desire to like, oh, it's mine. And I don't know if I want to share it. But I
Yeah.
still have that desire to be like, yes, and unleash your voice. So we'll see where the book takes us all. And like you said, what
Ooh,
starts out as just a gift for yourself has started, becomes a published gift for many. And you're really good at paving that and bringing out that author identity. So appreciate all of that.
thank you for that. Can I dive into what you said just a little
Yeah,
bit?
sure. Go ahead.
Because it
This is
takes me,
get to showcase you. Yes.
what's so fun is seeing the intimacy. I think this part comes up for most authors because yes, you're sharing your personal story with the goal of helping other people, right? So a lot of people, add practices or exercises or things like I do in the gratitude connection,
Mhm.
right? I tell a story and then I give a little practice or exercise so that you can bring it into your own life. A lot of people do that. But in telling those personal stories, there's always a point at which you have to say, okay, that is mine and that's just for me. And this is for the public, right? There's always that decision point, and
Mhm.
it's different for different people. Some people are very, very, open and transparent with most things. And other people are like, this book is to get these things across, not everything, and I don't have to tell all my secrets and all the things, right? So that's
Mm,
discernment that I think
mhm,
is always a part of the author process. But I want to dive into uh, this forced transparency too,
mhm.
because it brings me back to something that you said earlier, which was like uh, sort of a toxic gratitude. We think of
Yeah,
toxic positivity, and
yeah,
this is something that I could rant about all day because toxic positivity is not positivity. It should not be
right,
called positivity.
right. Hmm.
And what you were talking about gratitude of you should just be grateful for whatever you have, and that's enough, and don't be wanting more. That's
Yeah,
just greedy or whatever,
I
or
was shamed for wanting more. I was, yes,
being almost punished, being
yes,
shamed for that
yeah,
that's a very weird twist on gratitude,
yeah.
right? So it's these things that we have grown up with, and even the have keep us in survivalship, right? That
Hmm.
keeps us
Hmm.
in that survivor mode of like, I gotta protect all my stuff because somebody might judge it,
Hmm.
whether that I'm not being grateful enough for it, or I'm not being positive enough
Hmm.
about it,
Hmm.
or whatever. It's not good enough in some way that keeps our voice suppressed.
Hmm.
So again, it's a permission thing of how, and dipping your toe in that and finding out it doesn't kill you,
Hmm.
and I think that's what you're doing with your articles. You're
Yeah,
putting this stuff out there. You're putting yourself out there, your ideas, your thoughts, your insights, and your unique perspective, because nobody else sees the world through the eyes that you do,
right.
through all your experiences. So you have a definite voice and unique perspective that you put out there, and you can test it. You find, wow, nobody came after me for this. Nobody said they were, nobody's going after me. And even if someone does, that means it's not your person, right? It's not
Exactly.
your soulmate reader.
Hmm.
And you're connecting very deeply with the people who are your soulmate readers. So you're testing the waters. And that's a great way to do it, because it is a scary thing to open those doors, especially when you have had the experience of negative judgment when you have put yourself out there before, said what you believe, and get smacked down for it. And
Yeah.
that's the experience of a lot of us as kids or somewhere along our journey.
Exactly. And that is, as probably just about every author tells you, they're experiencing the things they're writing about. So I gotta go through it.
Yep.
So, and getting that discernment. So that's really cool too. So, um, what do you think about? Oh, I know. One of the things I've appreciated in our happy hours is we got to unpack some of the nuances of AI, using AI as an author. I'm pretty sure that people that want to write are just like this is probably burning in their minds as like, what does this mean for us? How should we use it? Any thoughts or things you want to share about AI?
Well, we spent 2 months talking about it on our happy hour, because it is such a big topic, and it's an ongoing topic that will continue to evolve. But I have to credit you with really opening my mind to using AI in personal writing, because I don't want to say I was a Luddite, about just absolutely no AI. I don't feel that way,
Yeah.
but it has helped me hone my thinking and my use of AI
Hmm.
in writing. So I think there are definite places to use it. And I think the growth of AI and how all of us now are pretty good at spotting AI writing,
Yeah.
and it's just completely produced by generative AI, right?
Yeah.
As humans, we can spot that pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
that's good, because I think it makes people more hungry for real, raw, emotional writing, you
Oh, I
know?
think that's so well said.
Yeah. And AI, you've taught me, opened my mind to it. AI can help us do that,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, we could talk about this for days, but I'll just
Right.
say kind of where I've come to with it is I have tried it like a coach I was working with, a business coach. She had put some topics into AI about things she wanted me to blog about,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I got it, and I hated them so much. I hated all those blog articles that was written, for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I would use them, right? And that wasn't the intent. It was
Right.
to rewrite them in my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that exercise with, I think it was 5 or 6 really long articles. And it was painful, and I hated every minute of it. Some of it, and a lot of it was like, no, I don't believe that. Here's what I believe. So it did help me kind of that way really hone in on what I did believe. What
Mm-hmm.
works better for me? So I tried that. That was an awful experiment. It didn't work well for me because it didn't come up with, like, every article had 5 points, 4 or 5 points, blah, 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 kind of to make the point,
Yeah.
examples and things
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, no, those aren't good examples. That's not what I would say. So I had to come up with new examples.
Yeah.
So I find it works better for me. And I think you've tried this too, where you're not saying, "Hey, AI, write this for me," for your book. It can't tell your personal story. It doesn't know your personal story.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to tell the story yourself first, and then I've gotten it down to where I ask it to help me improve it, or what are the gaps in here, or does it flow well, does it make
Mm-hmm.
sense, does it tie, am I leaving the reader hanging at the end, that kind of thing. So I'm not asking it to rewrite, I'm asking it for feedback and points where I could take a look at things.
Yeah.
And really I've learned that through your process.
Oh.
So if you I would love to hear you talk about how you've kind of come to find how it's helped you find your own voice.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much what you said. Like there was a time or two, like when I first started it, I said what I wanted to say, and in true repression, um, ChatGPT just said, would you like that to be more funny? Would you like it to be more sass? Would you like it to be more this or that? And I just wrote it the way I wrote it. Like, these are how I talk, the facts. And I can be that way, very literal. And I think I've talked to you about this in one of our sessions, is that I can tell the first time I write through a trauma that I'm very literal. Like I'm still like in it. And as soon as I free from it, I'm observer from it and I take the narrative of it, I can tell it any way I want with that emotion that I was repressing or whatever. So I liked that what I would do was write something originally. And when ChatGPT asked me about that, I was like, and it knew my voice because I'd put my writings in it. So it could see the differences, right? My nuances. Here's what I write like when I'm not afraid of these feelings or this thing. Here's what I write when I'm being really factual. So it was able to take like my literal sass and it rewrote it for me. And I was like, huh, yeah, that is what I really want to say, but I'm still afraid to say it. So I don't because it's first of all not my words and I'm still afraid to say it in my words, but it got me a little comfortable seeing these other sides of myself and capturing my voice and I think one of the things that is so good about ChatGPT is that it's pretty much a mirror. So you get a really good look at yourself. And then I think one of the things is to be smarter than it and tell it what you want. So I will go back and I'll say, okay, now I don't want you to rewrite it for me. I want, test with me like, what do you want? Is this what you want? Or do you want to be more sassy? Don't rewrite it for me, but tell me like, where am I missing my sass? Where can it be more powerful? Where can I have more impact? After I drop 4 or 5 articles, and I'll say, what are my patterns? And that's when it told me you're dancing around your truth. Just drop your bomb. Like, stop doing that. And I was like, ooh, I didn't see that, but now I do. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that is one of the gifts of ChatGPT too, is that it's really good at pattern recognition. So then because it shows you your patterns, you can tell it how to break your patterns. So then I tell it, stop, don't give me an edit. I don't want to see your sentence. I'm like really like, and I'm like, by the way, I don't like it when people tell me what I want to hear. I want you to tell me what I need to hear, you know? So
Right.
I have a little fun with it too. So I mean, I'm just reiterating a lot of what you had said. Like you can use it. The other thing I really like it to be is I use it a little bit for a muse, as in like, like, I mean, you're great when we have our coaching sessions. Those are once a month. If I could have you every day when I'm writing, I mean, that's kind of what I do with ChatGPT is I'll talk about something and when it mirrors something back to me, it's always got a little twist on it. And I learn about things I had not heard of before, right? Like a concept, like I think I remember writing about something I wish I could remember the term. And they're like, that's what psychologists call blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? Like, I'd never heard of it. Like and then all of a sudden it's like, now I can like connect it to something that has a vernacular. And so it's good for being my muse that way. Or, or when you get stuck in a rut writing, like, I'm always saying, and then. And then I'll just be like, can you just
Right.
give me like 10 different ways to say and then? And then I get to go to the board and I'm like, well, this fits in the story here, and this fits in the story here. And, it says, if you want to be more impactful, what are you feeling in your body in this? So again, to your point, I do feel like ChatGPT can help you strengthen your voice, especially, I mean, you're good. You give me feedback and you'll say, like, that's like you'll say, wow, you just like never heard that before. That really changed something for you or shifted. And ChatGPT will do the same thing. It'll say mic drop, and I'll be like, whoa, really? But, I laugh sometimes because I feel like I have mic drop moments. And then I go back and I tell it, you missed these mic drop moments. Again, I like to train it.
Try again. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I get a little sassy with it.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, and it's
Anyway.
it's interesting because some of those pattern recognition things too. I feel like I'm good at finding those in my writing and other people's writing, but not as good as ChatGPT, right? That's its
Yeah.
job is
Yes.
pattern recognition, right? So it's like, and those places where you can find your writing habits. That's whether you're writing a book or not, that's a great use of ChatGPT, just to ask it, what are my bad habits? I start a
Exactly.
lot of sentences, and I do this when I speak too, with so. It's
Hmm.
kind of like your and then, right?
Hmm.
It's a filler to transition to another concept or another topic or whatever. And it's a little bit lazy. And it's because it's a habit.
Hmm.
You just do it over and over again.
Yeah. So yeah, I think ChatGPT is great for breaking habits and amplifying your voice and getting more clarity and more power in your writing if you're going to ask it to help you program it that way. But to your point again, I've put stories in where it's like or an idea and it rewrote a story from it and it's completely flat. It's like I would not say it like that. And even sometimes when it gives me edits, I'm like, "Meh, I like my idea better." I just like
Right. So that's the human interaction, right? You can't
Right.
just, give something, you wouldn't give something to even an editor, an experienced professional editor, which I work with all the time, right? It's a similar kind of relationship where they're going to say, hey, I think it might be more powerful if you would reword it this way. And you look at it and you go, no, that's not what I meant.
Hmm.
But if what I meant didn't come across, then I need to rewrite it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it does point out places where you go, no, you're going off on a different direction
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
I was going to, but I obviously didn't make the points more strongly enough. So how can I say it more clearly?
Yeah. Right.
So and that I work with editors that way too, because I'll talk to them about it and I say, why did you think I was going in that direction?
Mhm.
And they say, well, you said earlier, blah, blah, blah. And so then I extrapolated and went over here with it. And I was like, okay, I need to rein that in,
Yeah. So
taking it a
brilliant.
different direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's great. But ChatGPT does do that sometimes too.
Hmm.
And I get so mad. It's so funny because I'm like, I'll be reading something and go, no, that's not it.
Yeah. I've done that before and I tell that too. The last thing I'll say about it is that I also really like that its memory bank is bigger than mine. I find it hilarious that that I'll write things and completely forget I wrote about it. And then it'll remind me and I'll be like, yes, let's bring that in. I forgot all about that. So that's kind of fun. So, Let's see. I've always got questions down and things like that about things. I just wanted to see that I didn't leave anything out. Is there any last things you want to say before I give you the signature questions I give all my guests?
I guess I'd like to come back to gratitude because, like you said, it is the month for gratitude, but it's also just such, for me, it's such the basis of everything,
Hmm.
because when you have these issues of imposter syndrome or whatever, do you ever take a minute and just really feel grateful for what comes out of your brain and out of your mouth and hands onto the paper,
Right.
right? That your writing is, like we said, cathartic for you and
Hmm.
also potentially transformational for someone else.
Hmm.
And that's something to really love and appreciate about yourself. And
Yeah.
that's a big part of becoming an author is being able to love and appreciate and value your own creations.
Yeah, for sure. That's so well said. I love that. I love that. And adding on like anybody who wants to practice some gratitude. Have you ever heard of it used to be on social media. It was called 100 Happy Days.
No, I haven't
If
heard
you
of that.
search the hashtag 100 happy days, it's basically I did it with a group of friends and we were all doing it. So on social media, like every day, you just post something that you are grateful for. So again, it's like the practice. I mean, it is kind of a to do, but you may be embodying something. And sometimes it's just funny things. I saw it the other day and I don't, and I just and this sounds, I feel like when I say this, it sounds kind of trite, but I love boots and it was fall and I just was like, I'm just in love with my boots today. I don't know. And I know that sounds really simple, but I mean, to your point, like when you get in that, you're like, your focus is not even seeing like, I love my boots. And then I can go on a tangent and then just be like, who got those boots? I bought those boots for myself. Yeah, because I work hard at my job and I'm grateful for showing up every day for myself and listening to I just kind of go on I call it a riff. I just kind of I get in a little gratitude riff spiral, but I think, those 100 happy days, I mean, I'm just remembering the boots, but there were deeper things, for
Of
sure.
course, but sometimes it's the fun, grateful for my breakfast burrito or whatever,
Well, exactly. I think sometimes that's the point is that we forget that what we can be grateful for frivolous things in life and celebrate those things as well.
Yeah.
I think, one of the things I used to feel like is that gratitude brings magic into the mundane.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So, April, I would love to offer your listeners a program I put together. It's free.
Okay.
It's called 30 Days of Gratitude. So it's kind of like what you're talking about. Where you get a little, you just get a little email every day that gives you something to think about and a
Ooh,
little tiny gratitude practice. It takes like 2 minutes a day,
I
and it's
love it.
just fun, and you can share it with your friends and whatever. It's something I put together in 2020 when I felt like we all needed
Oh.
a gratitude boost, just something to keep us positive and thinking more along those lines than about the doom and gloom lines,
Mhm.
and feels kind of very relevant today too.
For
So
sure. For sure. I'm so grateful that you offered that. I think that's going to be a really nice treat for the people who decide to sign up for that. And if anybody wants to look up, the hashtags 100 happy days, see what people are doing. I
yeah,
think it was a kind of a bonding accountability thing between me and my friends. We all got to see what people are happy for in each other's worlds, so that's really
yes.
neat. So, and as I mentioned, does that feel complete before I move
Yeah,
on?
that's great. That's great. Thanks for asking that. Just
Yeah. So I would love to just ask some of these questions as they fit in the flow. I think I put it out there that not every question has to be asked, but it's kind of since it's about finding your voice, my whole practice is find your voice, discover your joy, embrace your magic. That's the premise of my book as well. But how did you find your voice? What's the story of that?
Yeah, so fun little interesting backstory. So I told you I was a writer and editor. So I was doing technical, medical, science kind of writing. And so I was really good at procedures and logical, linear thinking and all that kind of stuff. That was my jam every day. And I would do training videos and all this kind of stuff. So that was my world. And when it came time to write my own book, that was really my personal stories, some of which were pretty vulnerable.
Mm.
It was hard. And like you said, with your writing, sometimes it was fun, it was creative, it flowed really well, and other times it was kind of bullet points.
Hmm.
It was like, this is not a procedure, right? Like it doesn't need to be written in a
Yeah.
technical manner. It needs to be
Yeah.
written from my voice. And I didn't know what my voice was. So it really just took a lot of trial and error because I would write something, put it aside for a few days, come back and read it and go, oh, well, that's Professor Amy at work.
Yeah.
That sounds very lectury. Like
I feel that.
that's not what I'm going for here. So when I could bring a sense of humor to it and sort of my own sass about it, I could give myself a little fun teasing about it and say, okay, let's try this again. Like,
Mhm.
how did you feel about it? Let's put in some good detail so people can put themselves in the story and feel it like they were there, right? And that emotion always goes a long way in a personal story. That because that's where you're connecting. So I could feel whether I was potentially connecting with my readers in a story or not.
Mm.
And so it was really just that and talking with people about it. So I would talk about these things and open up about my gratitude practice. And I was a life coach at the time. So I was able to try all these different uh, habits out with people, all
Mm.
the little things that I talk about in the gratitude connection. I'd say, well, it worked for me, but does it work for you? Let's try it. Try this for a week. Try this for 10 days. See what changes and journal about it every day. And so people would come back and go, "Oh my God, that was amazing." These just little tiny
Wow.
practices. And so that's the power of consistency of just bringing those practices into your life. So I did the same with my writing, and that helped me find my voice.
Okay. So consistency is key.
Yes. Just keep at it. I mean, once you start writing in your voice, it feels foreign. So you just got to keep
Yeah.
doing it, right?
Yeah. So that brings me to the next question. What's the joy that you discovered in that?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was a reader, voracious reader as a kid. That was my escape from a difficult childhood and crazy stuff happening in my house, right? I would take my books and hide in my room and just go to a different place. And so that was always my happiness about the written word was that it could take you to a different place.
Oh,
And I
wow.
always loved writing and I wrote a lot. I journaled a lot. I wrote angsty poetry when I was a teenager and you
Right?
know, all that stuff. So I had a love for writing. And so I thought, well, I'm going to make my living at that. And that's what I did for many years as a professional writer. But I got away from the reason that I love to write, which was to really kind of connect with myself, connect with spirit, connect with other people through stories and just personal experiences that we all go through. So finding my joy back in writing my first book and helping other people write their books is like that's what it's about. We're putting light and a higher vibration out into the world. No
Mm.
matter how many people read our books, that is out there. It's in the quantum field, right? So it's making a difference. It's raising the positive vibration of the planet. And that's really my mission in life. So that gets me pretty sparked up, as you can tell. I'm
I
getting
love it the whole time. So I can like literally remember I told you I have this like frequency thing. The whole time you're talking, I am lit with like joy and connection. So like you're literally putting out the vibe. That frequency is out. Like I can just feel it. And I hope people listening can too. It kind of reminds me of one of the things I talk about as a coach. I mean, I started as a love and money coach, which, okay, money, like people can say that zaps the joy out of everything, right? Like that's like covered in like heavy stuff. Same with love and relationships, right? But one of the things that I'm hearing put together, I feel called to like pull it out a little bit, is that you're actually finding joy in the process. And I totally feel like once you love the process, you are completely unstoppable. Most people are in love with the results. And then there's that drudgery in between. And that's what makes the results so far away from us. But the moment you fall in love with the process, it's yours. And that's why I love to coach people on love and money because those things are heavy and they're so far away for people. And when we find a way to connect to the joy of the process, it's already theirs. I mean, what could be more of a shit show than dating? Let me tell you.
Right.
And you got,
Okay, April, that was just a mic drop moment because people also always you hear that writing a book is hard,
hmm
telling your story is hard. People have this idea that it's really hard, but the process, you just nailed it. Because once you can fall in love with the process, people want to hold that book in their hand and go, I did this, this is great. And that's the result. That's awesome. And it is great. But getting there is also a joyous process.
yeah.
And I think we're so glad you brought that up because it's something that has been kind of bubbling up for me too,
hmm
is that people focus on I just want to get it done,
hmm
just get it done. And it feels like drudgery or some big, huge, hairy project that's going to take the life out of them. But as you've found, it gives you life, it gives you so much back that you want to stay in the process. And I feel like sometimes you never want it to end, right? You're always going to be writing. I'm always going to be writing something because I love it. And that's what I think falls away with the whole idea of AI too, is that people are like, oh, AI can do it for me. But what about the fun of doing it yourself? What about the
Exactly.
creative magic that
Yeah.
happens and the
hmm
self-discovery?
Yeah.
That goes away when you're pushing a button.
Yeah. It does. And I think that that's the main reason that I never went that way with AI. I think that I wanted to play with the peripherals that expanded me and meaning and like the things. And then I wanted to go back and write it myself,
Yeah.
because like you said, like that took it would take the joy out of it. I mean, I have, put something in for it to be right for me. And not only was it flat and I didn't like it, but I was like mad. I was like, it stole my joy. I want to write it,
Right. It's like it's reclaiming your voice.
Yes, yes, exactly. Like you can play with me, dude, but you can't write for me.
Right.
Um, so what is magical about your life and yourself that you embrace on the regular now?
Ooh, that's such a yummy question. Um, yeah, I have to say gratitude has given me such a sparkly view on life,
Mm,
right? Because it really has led me to a deeper spirituality. I call it the basis of my spiritual practice is
mhm,
gratitude. And so it's taken me to places I didn't expect, one of which is happiness, right?
mhm,
I feel a level of happiness that is innate. I think, when you watch little kids and they're just running around screaming, having fun,
mm,
that's who we are. That's who we come into this world being.
yeah.
That's built in. And
hmm
then, adulting can really suppress that.
Right, exactly. I
You
can
know,
really feel
uh,
that.
all of the things, right? And so I feel like just getting a glimpse into that every day is a beautiful thing. But it's also, I feel like, really expanded my spiritual connection that I also had as a kid. I was one of those kids who was talking to my guides when I was 4 and 5 years old. I had a beautiful spiritual experience when I was 5.
Mm,
And, it's those things we can let those go in the world of making money and having a job and running a business and doing all the things, grocery shopping and laundry and all the mundane things.
Yeah.
But it's still there every day.
Yeah.
So that is, I've come back to that and something that you touched on earlier, which was you rarely feel anxiety.
Yeah.
I am also at that very uh, wonderful place of rarely falling into that anxiety place that I used to live in full time.
Yep.
I know what
Same.
it's like, and I know how awful and life-sucking it is. And
Hmm.
I don't want that for anybody. So that feels like a special blessing.
Yeah. That's really well said. And I would say I also share that magic. Yeah. I love all of that. And I love the things you say about those spiritual experiences and things. I feel like writing my book has brought that back to me and has started to weave it into my life on the regular. I feel like a kid again. And um, you know, I feel like I'm not a preacher or anything like that, but I do feel like that's what the biblical quote means, and the meek shall inherit the earth, you know? So, it just, like you said, it's just opened up a whole magical world. I just can't say enough about it. And to be free from anxiety, same. I lived, everything was an anxious decision. I overthink everything. I didn't take a step. I felt frozen in my life, frozen and bogged down and no joy. And I would feel like depression in my life was because I felt trapped by anxiety. So it was just this endless cycle. And to be free of that is its own kind of magic. So, last question I have for you is what dreams have you realized is, being the coach, of course, and doing this, but are there any still that you want to see come to fruition? Is
Mm,
there left in you that you would like to see?
of course.
Yes,
I'm not
hear
done.
it. Good.
I think there's at least another book in me, and more on the lines of the spiritual journey that I've been on,
Oh, nice.
pretty much my whole life. But kind of the takeaways and where you can find that for yourself.
Oh,
And somewhere down the line is going to be a community to talk about those kinds of things, to meet and just continuing our spiritual growth and development and that expansion, the expansion of peace. And, it's not just the lack of anxiety, it's actually that peace and love and connection and joy that you talk about.
oh my gosh. Well, anybody listening, I feel like that's a treat to hear because you probably don't know this about me already. I haven't said it, but I feel that calling in my own world as far as like working with a community of mermaid spirits. I mean, I can't remember if you know about my year of play and creating the play pod,
Yeah.
but that's the basis of it. And so I feel that same tug. So I have a feeling there's maybe more work beyond books to well, as you know, I have ideas for other books too. So it's
Right.
going to be a lifelong love affair for us, Amy, and I'm enjoying the process. So you can't get rid
Me
of me.
too. I'm there. I'm a very loyal person, April,
Oh,
so it's going to be hard to get rid of me too. So
well,
let's do this.
I'm blessed by the magic of you in my life and thankful to have you as my writing coach. So, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom today. I'm glad we got to interview you, and I know that there will be more. And I hope everybody enjoys listening and takes some gratitude into your life and enjoy the magic. And that's it. So, to be continued. See ya, Amy. Thanks again.
Thanks for the wonderful conversation. It was a great way to start my day.
Yes, mine too. Now I get to put that thing in the middle there. All right. Bye bye.